Welcome to the SmartPM customer webinar, Spring 2021 update. Today we are going to be going through a few different items here. We're going to have our CEO Mike Pink on, Rohit Sinha, our CTO, of course myself, and Josh Parent, a customer success manager, will be chiming in with some help desk and learning management system items. So what we'll be doing today is Mike is going to give a high-level overview of what we've been up to here in 2021 up through May. We'll then go into the new company dashboard, which many of you have already seen and interacted with, but we'll take a little bit deeper dive into some of the metrics or the new metrics and utilization in there. Josh is then going to talk about some help desk refreshes and the future of the SmartPM support program. And then we're going to have a chat with Greg and Pat from MCP Group, a great customer of ours who are going to share some of their experiences with SmartPM and some of the value they've experienced so far. And finally, at the end, we're going to save the best for last, and Rohit is going to discuss what's coming up next for the SmartPM platform and the roadmap moving forward. If we have any time left at the end, we'll answer questions. If you guys want to leave questions in the chat, we'll get to them, and looking forward to getting this going. So Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Billy. Thanks for the introduction. And thank you to everybody who's joining us today. Today is about explaining to you some of the new features that we've added to the product, as well as starting to discuss where we're headed with the product as well. I'm going to talk at a very high level about the dashboard for now and some of the things that we put together and why, at which point Billy's going to hop in and really drive through it and explain in a much greater detail. But starting with about 6 months ago, we decided as a company that, now that we had passed the 50 customer mark, that it's important for us to really start to talk to our customers in great detail about their experience with our product, some of the things that they, liked, some of the things that they didn't, some of the things that they understood, some of the things that they didn't. And it really gave us a good look at, what is it our clients are seeing, what is it that they want to see, and how does that align with what we're trying to put together for the industry? And just to give you a quick statement of that, our goal was to make it much easier for people to understand a very important data set in construction, and that's the schedule. All of us here on this call have spent our careers doing that, studying scheduled data. And we took that information and knowledge and put together a product that really focuses heavy on leveraging all the good, rich data that exists in these schedule files. So our first mission was to automate a lot of the analytics that are very time consuming and difficult to do. Next phase of that was to make it understandable by our customer base, but until we had about 50 customers, we had to we couldn't necessarily be 100% sure that what we put together was going to be understood by all of our customers, because we know it's a complex subject matter, very telling to us, but not necessarily to non-schedulers. So our goal was to create a much better user experience once we, could engage with more people. So that's what we spent, a considerable amount of time doing at the end of 2020. And really the first piece of that we put together was a much more useful and intuitive dashboard, which is what you see in front of you today. First and foremost, we wanted to add a project health metric. And the reason we needed to do that was because people were getting schedule quality and project health confused. We have a schedule quality grading system, as you all know. A lot of people, when they were first seeing that, were thinking, well, that must mean how my project's going, but it actually wasn't. It was basically, how well is your schedule built? Is it following best practices, which, is a huge contributor to mismanagement of construction. But that doesn't mean the project's failing because you've got a poor quality schedule. So we needed to better understand how do we inform people of the health of their jobs so that they know where to focus instead of just the grade of the schedule. And that's what we created first, was a health metric. More information people wanted to have was SPI, which, a lot of people in the industry know SPI is the Schedule Performance Index. That's a key metric a lot of people follow that wasn't popping up on our dashboard. We were leaving it to the user to understand plan versus actual and do the math in their head. So we ended up pulling it right out, and this was based on many customers, requests of what's the SPI, can I see that on the dashboard? A couple other things that we did was, over to the right-hand side, we did move quality over because we needed to get it away from where the brain thought that this must be a judge of my overall job and put it into the feasibility section, and also modify a few of these metrics, because compression, as a metric was one thing, and we needed to show whether or not it was trending in the right direction. So now above the compression metric, you'll be able to see a number and an arrow. That arrow is indicating whether or not the number compression's getting worse or getting better. And to the right of that, our forecasted completion date, we have an algorithm that analyzes, historical performance to produce a prediction of future completion. Now, does that mean that it's 100% accurate? No. It means that based on all the historical data that we have, if we were to follow the trend that we see we followed to date, when do we think the project's getting done? And what we found from our customers is that they didn't want to see an actual date. They just wanted to know, are we doing, within a month? Are we on schedule? Are we within a month? Are we within 2 months? Or are we greater than 2 months? So instead of having a number that might raise some red flags to, upper management, we know that this is just an indicator as to whether improvement needs to be made or some decisions need to be made on rebaselining the schedule and setting the expectations. So we've modified that slightly as well. And the last piece here is the hover overs. We've found out from a lot of our customers that, we have a lot of complex information here and a lot of places you can go to figure out a lot of answers you need to have, but we can't train that, in a 3 to 6 hour long period without people who work in this industry leaving, going and doing a lot of other things, and then coming back and looking at it and essentially not remembering a lot of what we taught them the first time, which is perfectly understandable. So what we've built into this are some hover overs, and most metrics, all metrics on the dashboard, as well as we're building out many more on the project dashboard, which is the deeper dive to this information here. So you can see that hover over right in the middle of the screen here. As you hover over things, we're going to be giving quick explanations, and where it says more info, it's going to bring you to our knowledge base, which will be complete with more information as well as videos that we've put together that explain, what is this metric, why is it utilized, and what are some use cases that you might want to use this for, and what are the thresholds all about. We did our best to explain to the users those things throughout all the metrics here, but that would be pretty much the synopsis of what we put together and why we did what we did with our dashboard. We spent months listening to our customers, and that's part of our business. So with that being said, whenever anybody has any input on some of the things that we're working on now, that we worked on previously, we want to hear those things, and we will be actively reaching out to all of our customers always to learn these things. I'll leave it to Billy right now to walk you through in much greater detail some of these things. But
Awesome, thanks, Mike. Biggest changes to the SmartPM dashboard is the project health metric. The project health metric you see sitting right here, kind of where schedule quality used to be, is meant to be a risk measurement metric. So, you can imagine logging into the SmartPM, scrolling down that company dashboard, and understanding what projects need more love, what needs more attention from you. So what we kind of wanted to do here, and amongst other things, was open up SmartPM a little bit and show you how this is being calculated on the back end, the thought process that's going behind the health metric, and then also going into the other brand new feature on the dashboard, which is the schedule quality checker, which we've heard a lot of you guys have started using already as well. So we'll get into both of those. So let's hop into SmartPM here. All right, we're logged in. So the project health metric, you can hover over this, get the value that SmartPM is calculating for you just on a health basis. Obviously, the closer to 100 you get, the better. SmartPM is going to floor it out at 50. It's a calculation of effectively of 100 to 50. You could almost take it like a letter grade, much like we do with the schedule quality. What project health is calculating is a blend of schedule performance index, so SPI, your percentage of plan versus actual percent complete. It's taken into effect your schedule quality as well as your schedule compression. What we're actually doing with those three metrics is we're weighting them based on the period and time in which your project is in, based on your actual percent complete. So I'm going to pull open our workbook here, in which we actually base the schedule quality off of. And you'll notice we've set up 6 different time periods in your project. the first 10%, the next 15%, and we're going 25 to 50%, and so forth and so on until that last 10% there. The next step we took in generating this project health calculation is taking our 3 metrics here and weighting them on a scale of 1 to 5 on how important they are to your project at that time. Obviously 5 being the most important, 1 being the least important. So for instance here, as we start out going 0 to 10%, you can see schedule quality is going to be the most important thing in this calculation. It's that foundation for which your project is being managed off of from the outset. As we get into compression and performance, not as important because there's a lot of runway left in the job to achieve that compression that may have already been built into the schedule, or get performance up to where it needs to be. And you also don't want 1 or 2 subs dictating the performance index, as opposed to maybe a little bit further down the line where there's a larger sample size of performance. As you continue to get into the project, you'll notice that things become more, everything kind of becomes more important, where you get to that 50 to 75% range where your project is, the most active in most cases. This is the period in time where you see the most subs out on site at once, the most activity, and most work being put into place in general. That last 10%, and just to kind of wrap up here, you'll notice quality goes out the window, compression is kind of gone out the window, and it's all hands on deck. Let's get this job done and get out of here, right? So based on those, on that weighting scale, depending on how you have your different metrics set up. So let's say we have a schedule quality of an A, and our compression is at 25%, and we're performing at about an 85% range. This is not that bad of a calculation. You can see it kind of tapers off towards the end. It's really being buoyed by that good schedule quality grade. Now, if I drop this down to an F, you'll notice now at the beginning down here, we're at a 78 schedule or project health metric, because schedule quality is that much more important at the beginning of the job than it is at the end of the job, just for reference. The weighting of this is customizable. So if you guys have different points of view of what's important to your project at different periods in these 6 periods, we can re-weight that for you. Going from 1 to 5, you just reach out to support@smartpmtech.com, book a meeting with us, and we can walk you through that process. The other new feature, the big new feature that we have in here, is the schedule quality checker. One of the most requested features from us was being able to check the schedule before you actually load it into a project and make it permanent. So with the schedule quality checker, it's almost like an add-on tool. You're not dealing with any particular project. You can just go in, load any schedule file you want. SmartPM's just going to put it on a temporary server for you, and it is going to load it up, give you a schedule quality grade, and then we're going to be able to get all the reports, export and view reports that we need. And you can check that schedule quality right out of the box without actually having to put it into a project first. This allows you to check it, go get the information, rework it a little bit, create a revision, and then actually load it into your project once you're happy with it. That is a schedule quality checker, and you will be able to get your quality without actually importing into the project. Those are the 2 main new features in SmartPM. The other new kind of feature we have in here are the hoverovers, as Mike was talking about. These hoverovers are going to give you a little bit more context when it comes to each metric and what the metric means, or how you can use that metric, or a little bit more specificity. The other new feature within this is the more info button. So if I click on this more info button, it's going to take you into our help desk. It's going to show you a specific video cut from us with giving you more detail on this metric. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh and let him talk about the new emphasis we have on the help desk and the future of what the SmartPM onboarding and learning management process is going to look like.
As you heard earlier, my name is Josh Parent. I was brought on as a customer success manager here with SmartPM, and I've been tasked with revamping the help desk and streamlining some of the training so we can get our users up to speed as fast as possible, getting the most bang for their buck out of our product as quick as possible. And pertaining to the help desk, as Mike and Billy said, we've been filling out the knowledge base with articles and video to make everything very intuitive. If you need any answers on anything specific, that being links to the hoverovers, as was mentioned, that has been launched currently for the company dashboard. It will be launched for everything throughout the website. It will have it on the project dashboard, and any questions you may have on something, it's going to have a hover over that would have further detail on it. Basic stuff with the help desk is just as simple as, it's kind of hidden right now under the resource tab, so we're going to be pulling that out so it's a little bit more intuitive to get to and at your fingertips. The show and hide tutorials, which is right above that, is kind of redundant with what we're doing with the hoverovers, so that's going to go away because the hoverovers can be automatic. You won't have to turn it on and off. Future things that will be rolled out that are not started yet will be a chat bot. This will be right on the page to help get answers quicker, pushing you to articles or videos. It'll also have frequently asked questions right on there for that page, for anything on that page that you're currently on. And of course, if it doesn't, it can't get you to a satisfactory answer. The customer success support team is always the next step that it will push it to. The other main thing in the future is the learning management system, and that's going to provide training courses and try to make it more of a digital approach where you can come and go as you please, start and stop the training session, finish it as it's convenient for you, rather than trying to set up a time where your team can all meet at one time with, Billy and I schedule. It makes it a little bit easier for you guys, and then you come into a session with us where we're jumping right into your projects and answering questions after you've already kind of seen what it can do. A factor in this potentially can be managers will be able to sign up and monitor their employees. So we can give you access to, like, you're trying to roll it out, having certain employees learn how to use the software because you want to push the use of it, and you can, sign them up for courses, might have a simple testing, not in the sense of like grilling you, but more of a verify that you sat through the course and you're getting the information that you need to get. We'll still have instructor-led sessions, but that the basic stuff will be easier to come and go as you please and get that refresher if needed. The last piece of that learning management system would be to launch digital walkthroughs. That would be a particular tasks. It'll take you step by step where to click on the actual software. So once, like loading a project or updating schedules, and it's right there to tell you what to click on next and what to expect. And by the time you're done running through it, you've uploaded a project. And as of right now, that is the vision for the help desk and the learning management system.
Yeah, Josh, let me just jump in one more time. This is Mike. One other thing that we're going to be embedding into our knowledge base is additional material, not related to the usage of SmartPM necessarily, but training in other areas that surround the usage of SmartPM, in particular scheduling. We're going to be putting together some courses that will help people better understand the process of scheduling to give them a stronger foundation to understand what we do, and that's analyzing scheduled data. So we, as part of this, we have superintendents, we have PMs, we have non-schedulers on the, in the corporate office who need to understand this stuff. We have people on the site who haven't necessarily scheduled much in their life to understand best practices. We believe that, in addition to training you to use this program, we also want to train around the subject matter that's very important for the usage of this product. So there'll also be additional trainings available especially, for the people who are non-schedulers to understand, what is best practices in schedule? Why do we schedule? What is the critical path? We'll probably even get into trainings around certain other tools that, like Microsoft Project, for people who need to, teach their teams real quick on how to be good schedulers using different programs. So we've seen a lot of success there, as a company who's been asked to help that process, and we've come up with a very good training process around certain things. In addition to that, we want to put additional content into the knowledge base that's, searchable. White papers that we've put together. We want, when somebody asks a question, we almost want a series of things to come back to them that will help them be better at what they want to do or understand more thoroughly what they want to know. And we understand that transcends SmartPM as a platform.
We got Pat and Greg from MCP Group, and I'll just be honest, one of my favorite customers to work with. They're always great to talk to and to walk through their projects. So, hey guys, how's it going?
Doing well. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Great, great. Well, thanks for inviting us in on this. Kind of tell you a little history. We've been struggling with schedules on our construction projects. Everybody talks schedule, pushes schedules. Everybody's put schedule. But until we really ran across SmartPM, we didn't really know how to analyze things, how to, what to look for. Sure, the guys were doing schedules. They looked great. They flowed. It looked like everything was going wonderfully. But, Billy, you've taught us a lot about what to look for, what analytics to check on, the trends, the best practices, not having a bunch of lag in your schedules, too much float, too little float. Just the mechanics that you get somebody that walks you through it is really what I have enjoyed about this, because before we want to do a good job scheduling, everybody's talking about it, but until you really know what to do and how to do it, I mean, that's what's been value to us, because right now SmartPM's in every meeting we're talking about it, every job gets talked about.
Yeah, and I'll add, I mean, I guess it was probably mid 2020, we were kind of going over some mid-year numbers, and they weren't looking good on some jobs, and every single one of those jobs was behind schedule or finished late. So we really started focusing on schedule, but we didn't really know what that meant. And over the course of 2020, we started looking at a SmartPM and understanding what it could do. And basically we could, Greg or I could sit down and analyze a PM schedule and take a few hours and figure out what the problems are. But we would have to, hire a full-time position to do that across our company. And that's the beauty of SmartPM. We can run all schedules on all our projects through SmartPM, and we meet an hour a week, and we can basically analyze. We usually have 20 projects going between $2 and $50 million, give you some flavor, but we can run through all those schedules in an hour period and then know where our problem children are. And then the other cool thing is our PMs and superintendents have really embraced it, which surprised us. We thought it'd be a fight. But when we sat down with those guys and they realized, man, I'm lying to myself on this schedule. What do I do? They've really embraced it. And, cost-wise, it's paid for itself on every project and then some. I mean, it's put dollars to our bottom line, quite honestly.
Don't raise the premium though, Billy.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing we analyzed last year is when, we got jobs finishing and not just a couple of days late, I'm talking 2 or 3 months late. What that was costing us, the general conditions cost across the board was pretty astonishing. So.
Yeah, but we'll make sure Darren, our vice president of sales, doesn't hear this. But no, yeah. So guys, you stole a little bit of my thunder, but what was there a specific event that sparked you to kind of start seeking out a schedule analytics tool? I know we came across you guys, or you guys came across us at Groundbreak at Procore, but was there a specific event maybe? You don't have to get into specifics, or was it just more of a general feel?
Well, it was really a review of our mid-year number on some projects that had finished up in the first quarter, second quarter of 2020, and the margins were looking not great, and we didn't. It's not that the projects, it's not that we lost subcontractors or switched superintendents or something like that. It was that we didn't get the jobs done on time, and our labor costs were over and our general conditions were over. And so that really kind of sparked us to just focus on schedule, period. But again, we didn't really know what that meant or how to start, and it's taken several months to kind of understand that. But that really started as we were losing money because we weren't getting jobs done on time.
Yeah, and that's not unusual with, somebody or a group that's coming in just trying to break into the schedule analytics world, if you will. There's always a little bit of growing pains that comes with that. From the beginning, you mentioned the guys out on site have kind of embraced it. What are some of those conversations you're having with them to help them maybe understand, what they're doing to the schedule is, not necessarily how the job needs to be built, or you mentioned your words were lying to ourselves, but what are some of those conversations you're having with them?
Well, when we learn more about constraints and not to use as many constraints, you're saying, okay, you're tricking this schedule to be done. It looks like you're going to do it, but the compression component that we're like, you can't do it. You've told us that you can make all this happen in 3 weeks, but you've got every trade, standing on each other's back, so to speak, to try to get it done. So just having conversations and showing them some of the tools you have allow you to kind of show where the delay was and what the plumbing contractor is doing and what the cause of the events that they were, because you can isolate each activity for the plumber. You pull them out, and here's every one of his activities in your schedule if you set it up right, and you can prove he's on schedule or behind schedule. And those kind of tools we've been, when you can isolate an activity and show where your bar should have been and where you are currently by your display, that's been invaluable to sit down and say, you said 4 months ago you're going to be here, and it's no BS. You can see where it was and how you're either getting ahead or behind. So
yeah, and I think another good example, Billy, is the project that one of our very best superintendents and one of our good project managers, through SmartPM, we were seeing the schedule slip, and there were some weather things, some owner changes, things like that. But they kept saying, we're going to get this done. We can get it done. We'll hit the date. But then we had did a couple of calls with you and analyzed it and sat down with those guys and said, guys, here's what we're seeing. This isn't going to work. And some light bulbs went off. And then you ran in SmartPM's, though, 6-day-a-week schedule, and then ran those analytics. And we were able to sit down with the guys. They started working 6 days a week, and really we were projecting, I think, to be 30 days late, and I think now we're going to be done right on time. Nice. If we hadn't been through this, I think we probably would have been done 60 days late because the guys just thought they can make it, and nobody would have ever kind of held their feet to the fire on their schedule. Because again, these are a couple of our best guys.
Well, the dashboard's what's really cool because you got all your jobs right there in front of you,
right?
And you can go down the list real quickly, see where what your temperature of the company is, schedules are, where you need to jump in, and so you're not spending a lot of time where you don't need to spend it. Right. It's a huge piece of it too.
Yeah, if I remember correctly on that 6-day calendar, what you guys were able to do, as you two sitting at the home office, not necessarily running the schedule, you guys were able to run your own analysis. I remember we were sitting there, we ran that 6-day analysis, saw the compression wasn't too burdensome, and so we exported that thing out, sent it over to the site, and said, run with it, guys.
Yep.
That's glad to hear that they're back up to speed over there.
Yep.
Cool. And and another piece of that puzzle, and we talk about it with all the other customers, are those project walkthroughs. I think that those are probably the most important part of the onboarding process and used to the software itself is sitting down with me, Josh, somebody else, Mike, somebody at SmartPM, and walking through that, because you got to get used to it a little bit, but once you start getting used to it, there's a lot to be had from the software. So I got one more question, and then maybe some parting thoughts from you guys. But Pat, I think you mentioned earlier, you guys were maybe looking to hire somebody to fill that scheduling role, and SmartPM has kind of stepped into that spot. Do you see that continuing? Do you see maybe hiring a SmartPM specialist eventually? And then if so, if you have a list of schedulers, I know there are plenty other guys on this call that want that list. So if you want to share that as well, because schedulers are the premium nowadays.
Honestly, with this program, we don't have a need to hire anybody right now.
Cool.
Greg and I, like I said, we sit down once a week. We spend an hour. We go through every project we have, and most of them are okay, right? It's just you see something looks like it's going south, and then you dig a little deeper, and it's usually one or two projects, but you get a handle on it early in the project.
Well, then we set up the meetings with the project manager and the superintendent outside of our hour-week review, and then have a 20, 30 minutes to go through it and show them what's going on. We're Zooming and Teams meetings and everything else, so you can share it wherever everybody's at. Boom, it's right there, and they ask questions. It's a pretty slick deal.
The other interesting thing is, Billy, probably what I'm talking about. We've got a PM that can it's pretty good at tricking the schedule to make it look pretty good. Anybody can do it. He's pretty sharp, but SmartPM's kind of exposed that. And we went to him and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" He knows he's sandbagging, doing something, but I got to tell you, unless you spent a lot of time, unless you sat down and really analyzed that schedule for 2 or 3 hours, you wouldn't have pulled it out. But SmartPM, just in a matter of seconds, when it runs the update, is pulling some red flags out that we can sit down and have some conversation.
Well, I don't remember which chart it is, but when you can click on an update and they've had 40 or 70 or 100 movements and changes in the schedule, you're like,
in a week,
what's that all about? Yeah. And then you can dig in, because you're like, you really point to where the fire is at. You see, there's smoke, but you show where the fire is.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. Exactly. We're glad we've got it, and definitely
that's awesome, guys.
With it.
Well, I appreciate this time.
Can I ask a quick question, Greg and Pat? Yeah. This is my $1 million question that I really want to know the answer to. And I do appreciate you guys coming on here and talking a little bit about your experience, and I'm glad it's been a great experience. Going back to prior to purchasing SmartPM, you guys were talking about your, needing to step up your game in scheduling. I'd like to know, when you were there, where would you guys rank yourself 0 to 10, and where do you think you are now? Not to say that you're going to be at a 10 just yet. I know we can get you there, but I want to understand in a 6-month time frame, how quickly have you guys gotten a grasp of this, and how do you feel now?
Well, so a couple things, my thoughts. I think we got a long ways to go on getting our PMs to build a good schedule. But I think the grading system on here, and we're kind of okay. We decided if you're a B+ or better, we're probably okay. We're trying to get everybody up to an A grading system. But if you're down in that CD range, and it tells you exactly what your problems are. You got too many constraints. You're missing logic. That's the biggest thing to me. I mean, you can't be missing logic. So it's helped our PMs, and I think we're getting there. I would say we were probably a 4 if I had to guess.
Yeah, 3.5 to 4. And before we met you guys, we were struggling. We didn't know we were.
No,
we thought we were doing it. Ignorance was bliss, but now we're moving up probably 7, 8.
I'd say 7 or 8. We have awesome. But the focus. What this has done is it's really kind of a culture shift. The focus is around schedule, and now the PMs and supers know, this is being looked at once a week, and we're asking really good questions once a week.
That's the key point. You got to magnify. Before we were just guessing.
It's kind of like safety. We revamped our safety program 5 years ago because we were having some issues there, and when the focus became around safety, the culture changed, and that's what I see with scheduling.
Now if we could just get Billy to step up a little bit, it'd be all right.
That's the story of my life. Awesome, guys. Well, we really do appreciate the time, and thanks for the kind words and insights. And by the way, these guys at MCP Group, they are a Procore customer as well. So if any of you guys out there listening in are loading your schedules up into Procore, these guys are pulling it right in out of there. So it's an auto sync type deal, kind of an auto sync type deal, but they're another one of those Procore guys. So appreciate it, Pat and Greg.
Sounds great.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. All right, for what everybody's been waiting for now, Rohit, what's next?
All right, thank you, Billy. Thanks, Greg and Pat. Now, we've got a lot of things on the roadmap that are coming up, and I wanted to highlight a few of the key things that we're going to be doing in upcoming next in order to kind of help progress the product along. So the first thing that's coming up is the CPM scheduling alignment. As many of you know, there have been some discrepancies in between the data that SmartPM and your source system, Primavera Microsoft Project, have reported, and a lot of that's due to kind of where SmartPM came about from. Originally, the goal was to help eliminate the bad practices that we've seen over time that occur with these schedules. However, as more and more customers are coming on board, we've been getting a lot of feedback that, hey, my date doesn't align, and that tends to cause some friction. So we've gotten a lot of feedback saying that, hey, the data should align. So what we're actually doing is we're going to be updating SmartPM to actually have those dates align in the majority of cases, and we're going to be working on and trying to get as close as we can to having the data align. Now, that being said, we're not going to get rid of those bad practices, those flags for bad practices. We still truly do believe that if you can eliminate those bad practices, you'll be much better off, and you'll have a much better execution of your project. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to make them suggestions and things that you can fix, and similarly, how you can run scenarios today really quickly and see how your schedule plays out given a certain change or something in your schedule. You'll be able to do that with these bad practices. You'll get a prompt saying that here's the things we found. Would you like to create a rule and run a scenario off of it? And you can just click that and it'll go off and run that scenario, and you can see what it would look like without that bad practice. So we're going to be working on that heavily now, and as we progress that along, there'll be smaller releases and we'll be sure to communicate what changes we've made that are helping with that. Next up after that is AI, or artificial intelligence. This is actually something I'm very, very excited about. It's just the potential that it's going to unlock when it comes to understanding the schedule and being able to really take learnings and apply them across projects, as well as do things like automatic detection of missing logic and identifying where that may be the case is going to be very, very powerful. And really, we're going to be working on really the first iteration of that shortly, which is going to enable us to dive deeper into your projects and actually understand what the different activities are and what that means, and be able to say that, okay, these are similar activities. What are some of the things that happened on this other activity that you may want to look out for on this next activity? And we're going to be doing the foundational work now, but continue to grow on top of that and offer more suggestions and things of that nature, where if we know the problem, we'll let you know, and you can click that, run a rule similar to the bad practices, and see what does that mean for your schedule. Once you have that figured out, you can always export that out and then use that as your schedule going forward, similar to what Greg and Pat said, where they went to the 6-day-a-week calendar, export that schedule out and sent it to the site team. You'll be able to do that similarly with all the suggestions that the AI engine produces, as well as any of the bad practices that you decide to correct inside of SmartPM. So really, really looking forward to that. It's going to be a big undertaking, but it's going to be very, very powerful and give you insights like no other system out there can. So very, very excited to embark on that journey. From there, we've gone through and improved the UX and UI of the company dashboard. We're looking to do the same for the project dashboard and Gantt view. We've actually met with numerous of you guys to really get your feedback and figure out exactly what is it important for you to see, right? That's the key thing there is what is it that you need to go in and see first. And once we have a better understanding of that, then we can bring that data to the front, and as soon as you go in, that's what you'll see. As Mike mentioned, we previously didn't, the current iteration was designed off of what we thought was important for you guys to see, and we took it from the perspective of an analytics, or people who are very focused on data and analytics, not necessarily on that execution. And now that we've gotten the feedback from people using this to really manage their jobs and have oversight on their jobs, we're taking that feedback and incorporating it. So we're hoping that you guys see a lot more value and makes it a lot easier to use to get to the answers that you need. We always appreciate the feedback, and you can of course always provide it to your customer success manager, or reach out to me directly and provide them. I'm always looking forward for that feedback. From there, additional analytics, modeling, reporting. There's a few reports that that have been requested. We're working on them and getting them incorporated into the product. We want to also allow you to model different things. One of the things that we're seeing is progress isn't always necessarily accurate in the schedule, so allowing you to model progress on specific key activities and apply them to your rules. Really, we're going to keep that core data as is, and let you build scenarios to really track what's going on. And of course, more analytics, and a lot of those are going to be powered by what our AI engine produces once we really understand, once the AI engine understands the data and what everything is. And then lastly, but not leastly, is additional integrations. We want to make it very, very easy for all of our customers to get onto SmartPM and use SmartPM as a part of their general maintenance flow and general business process. So right now we have it integrated into Procore where customers can just go into Procore, it'll pull the schedule out and see all that information. But we want to make that even better, right? We want to add other storage solutions, other scheduling tools that people use, and really pull that data in, and so you don't have to jump through some of the hoops to get that data into SmartPM. We also have a lot of customers that are building their own dashboards in Power BI, Domo, Tableau, to really oversee their entire business. We want to make it easier for you to pull that data in. Right now, you have to build a custom connector, but we want to make it simple where you can just go into those tools and just pull our data in really, really easily and include it as a part of your dashboard. A lot of these things are major undertakings, and they will span more than this year, but these are some of the high-level things that we're really focusing on and hope to deliver to you guys soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Rohit.
All right.
Yeah, guys, and as Rohit was mentioning, we're always writing down the feedback we get, whether it's in the trainings or the project walkthroughs or just the one-off emails that are coming in, and we're siphoning that up to Rohit and his team for implementation. So as the theme of one of the themes of this meeting has been, customer feedback, and that's not a joke. So keep all of those suggestions coming, because we think we know best, but you guys are the ones out there using it in the field. So that feedback's always welcome. All right, so we got a few questions in the chat. One of the questions is, in the exports that feature individual activities such as delay and quality, is there going to be a feature added also to see the activity code or WBS code applied to that activity. Essentially, this will allow the understanding of where quality and delay issues may correspond to a particular portion of a scheduled project or scheduler project. Yeah, that's a great idea, and I think that, you know, for the delay consultants out there being able to, and also for, you know, just the common users, obviously, to quickly to be able to associate those activities to a specific section or area of the project and schedule is a great idea. Rohit, any comments on that?
Yeah, no, I do think that's a very good idea, being able to roll up a lot of those metrics and see it at a higher level, because especially for the projects where you have a lot of activities, like 30, 40, 50,000 activities, it can be overwhelming when you see, hey, 10,000 changes happen, and not necessarily understand that, hey, was it to one particular part of the project, or what was it overall? So yeah, no, I think that's a very, very good idea, and we'll definitely add that to the roadmap and have it there. So
cool. And then the last question we got, both from the same person. So Joe, hey, is there any integration with PM Web planned for the future? That's another Rohit question, because I don't even know.
So currently, we have not looked at PM Web, but as we build out these integrations, what we will do is we will reach out to our customers and see what is it that our customers are using, right? What the idea we have, or what we want to do, is deliver the most value for the most of our customers in a quick fashion. So really, if we see a lot of customers getting a lot of value from a PM Web integration, we'll definitely look at that. Right now, really from an additional integrations perspective, the primary ones that we're looking at are additional scheduling tools, just because we're seeing more of that in the market, as well as BI tools, because a lot of customers are looking at pulling the data out of SmartPM, and a lot of customers have built their own integrations to pull this data out. So whatever we can do to make that process simpler is what we're looking at starting with. But definitely, we will reach out and see what how many customers will be benefited from a PM Web integration, and develop based on that. So.
Okay, and don't go too far. We got one more question that rolled in, another integration question. Do we plan on developing a module similar to Synchro that integrates P6 and BIM?
Hey, Rohit, let me jump on this one real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is something that we've kicked around quite a bit. Is, you know, obviously we come from a world that, you know, we believe that the scheduled data is probably the best for analyzing a project, particularly because all that data connects all the parts and pieces into one whole, and it establishes a workflow embedded within. You know, me being a consultant for many years, realized that there's no better data set than the schedule, and that's really our foundation. We do intend to invest heavily in adding more data to the equation, but using that scheduling foundation, that system that the schedule explains in terms of time, tying that to things like cost, and tying that to things like design. So if you hear what I'm saying, cost, schedule, quality, or design all in one place, connected, is our goal. And we believe that once we get there, we'll have a full service analytical system for construction. So Dale, I appreciate you asking that question. We definitely are, you know, shooting for that down the road. The things that we're explaining today are the immediate next things required to ultimately get there. But yeah, one other thing that I'll point out, and this is good for everybody to know, we've had a great year as a company, and we've decided that we're actually going to invest in massive growth in the near term. So we're actually going out right now and raising for our Series A. So to make all of these things that we're talking about, you know, come sooner, and we look to build, you know, a much bigger team, a much bigger development team. But I just wanted to cut in there, Rohit, because the BIM question is a big deal to me too. But what are your thoughts, Rohit?
Yeah, I think that is something that we talked about a few years ago as kind of one of the things that we want to eventually get to. And we do see a lot of value of being able to incorporate that view into the schedule, right? And being able to visually understand how that in lies with the delays and everything. To see both of those data sets together is going to be very, very powerful and something we do want to get to. As Mike mentioned, our focus right now is the schedule, but as we progress and grow and build out a bigger team, that is another area that we are going to be expanding into.
Cool. All right, guys. I'm not seeing any more questions.
There's one more question that came.
Chowdhury had a question,
Yep.
Billy.
Let's see. Can the scenario conditions be made global with the ability to modify for any project? That one's going to be a tougher one. Rohit may be able to comment once again more on it, but with each project being so different, that really does become, that is a very narrow lane to be able to make a specific scenario global. There are some things calendar-wise that may be able to be distributed across all projects, but WBSs are different, activity codes are different, activity names, IDs, with all of that different, all those different data sets, and then how they can all be unique to each project. It does become kind of difficult to do that. That's not to say that we haven't had that request a few times and it's on our radar, but that one may be a little bit more difficult to achieve. We may look at other avenues, so to kind of backdoor that in a way.
Yeah, and actually, one thing that's going to allow us to do that in the future and enable us is the AI piece, right? Once one of the initial things it's going to do is understand the data better, right? And once we understand the data better systematically, right? Not as humans who can actually comprehend this information, but as a machine that will be able to better understand this information. That'll enable us to be able to do things and leverage the AI engine in order to build this, right? Once we're able to do that analysis across projects, this is something that can be done. But we would definitely like to hear more about what are some of the specific conditions and see if there's something in the meantime that can be done, right? As Billy mentioned, WBS, activity codes, those, since they tend to be very, very different from project to project, it's a little bit more of a challenge. But if there's like wildcard activity name filters and things of that nature, those are things we could potentially look at bringing up a level. So yeah, we'd love to hear more about exactly what your intent is with this, so we can see if there's something we could do.
Cool. All right, guys, well, we're up against the bottom of the hour. Really do appreciate the great turnout today. This is by far and away the most attended customer webinar we've had. So really appreciate everybody for jumping on, and reach out to us if you have any questions about anything we've gone over today. And everyone have a great rest of your week and look forward to seeing you out there.